Out on the southern coast of the empire, where small fishing boats moved slowly across the dark blue water, something strange appeared one morning. It was just a shape on the horizon at first. No sound, no smoke, no flag. Just a strange, smooth silver thing floating too far out to see clearly. Old Sabin was the first to say something. He was 68 and had been fishing these waters since he was a teenager. That morning, as the sun was just starting to rise, he noticed it. At first, he thought it was a whale, but whales didn't sit still like that, and they sure didn't shine like metal. By the time the other fishermen saw it too, they all agreed it wasn't anything they had seen before. "It doesn't move," one of them said. "It ain't ours," said another. "It's not from any fleet I know," muttered Sabin. The strange vessel stayed completely still, like it was watching. By the next day, the news had reached the nearby village, then the town, then the capital. A single silver object just beyond the horizon. The imperial authorities sent a drone out to take pictures. The drone never came back. People began whispering in the streets. Some said it was a ghost ship. Others thought it was from a rival country. Some even claimed it was a secret weapon built by rebels, but no one could say for sure. All the official sources said the same thing. There is nothing to worry about. It is under investigation. But the people were worried. You could feel it. In the shops, people bought extra food. Some started pulling cash out of banks. Fishermen stayed off the water. Even the birds seemed quieter. Talia Vren, a young woman working in the Empire's intelligence center, heard about it during her lunch break. She was just an entry-level data analyst, stuck behind monitors and paperwork most of the day. But when the name Unidentified Aerial Sea Object flashed across her terminal, something made her pause. It wasn't the name. It was the report attached. It was only 2 sentences long. Object detected 47 kilometers off Imperial coast. No response to signals. Stationary for 36 hours, that was it. No images, no video, no sound files. That wasn't normal. Usually reports like these were thick with data, charts, satellite tracking, audio logs. But this one was quiet. Too quiet. Talia leaned back in her chair and glanced around. Her coworkers were talking about weekend plans, sipping tea, watching gossip shows on side screens. No one seemed to care. She clicked on the file again. A line of text appeared and vanished almost instantly. She barely caught it. Auto-flagged temporal interference suspected. Temporal. As in time, that made no sense. Before she could screenshot it, the file locked itself. Red letters blinked. Access denied. Her heart beat a little faster. She wasn't supposed to see that. And now she had. By nightfall, things got stranger. Local boat traffic had completely stopped. Not because the government told them to, but because the boats that did try to go out never came back. At the coast, a boy named Errol claimed he saw a small Imperial patrol boat heading toward the object just before sunset. He watched it through binoculars from a hill. He saw it move fast and steady, then suddenly slow down. It just stopped, mid-ocean. Not because it reached the object. It had stopped far short. Then, he said, the boat turned slowly to the side and started sinking. No explosion, no fire. Just a quiet, smooth descent into the sea. When he told his father, the man slapped the binoculars from his hand. "Don't say that again. Not to anyone. But I saw it, I really saw it." I said enough. Word still got around. At the Empire's command base in the capital, General Karan stood watching a large screen, showing the satellite map of the coast. The object was marked with a red dot. Still not moving, still just floating there, as if it was waiting for something. The room was filled with quiet tension. Officers moved around with reports, but no one spoke loudly. There were no jokes, no casual talk, only quiet worry behind blank faces. "We should send another ship," one officer said. "No," Corin replied. "Not yet. We don't know what we're dealing with." "It hasn't made a move in 3 days, sir. Maybe it's just tech junk, floating metal." "Junk doesn't sink boats without touching them," Coran snapped. The room fell silent. He turned back to the screen. The red dot pulsed gently, like it was alive. Meanwhile, in small towns across the Empire, stories started spreading like wildfire. A woman swore her radio picked up strange voices at night. A fisherman said his compass spun in circles when he got close to the water. A group of kids swore the stars above the object weren't in the right places anymore. A local priest claimed the vessel was a sign of divine punishment, that the Empire's time had run out. People listened. People feared, but the official news channels stayed calm. They called it a foreign drone. They aired interviews with military experts saying, "There's nothing to fear." They showed happy families, new products, holiday plans, but even those broadcasts didn't feel right anymore. The hosts smiled, but their eyes were nervous. The background music was too cheerful, too forced. Talia saw it all, sitting on her small couch at home, eating cold noodles, her mind still stuck on that file. Temporal interference. What did that even mean? She tried searching for answers in the office archives. Everything came up empty. Even the logs from the patrol boat were missing. She finally reached out to someone she hadn't spoken to in years, Dr. ElevenLabs, her old university mentor. He was a linguistics professor, once famous for decoding old dialects from pre-imperial times, but the Empire had blacklisted him after he published a paper criticizing their control of information. He answered her video call with a tired face and graying hair. "Talia," he said slowly, "you're still working for them. I had no choice. Well, what do you want?" She hesitated. Then she showed him what little she had. The intercepted line of code, the redacted report, the strange reading. He looked at it in silence for a long time. This doesn't look like anything I've seen. It's not a language. It's more like rhythm, pattern, timing." He adjusted his glasses, leaning in. "What do you mean?" "I mean, it's not saying something. It's doing something. This pattern isn't meant to communicate. It's meant to affect, like a trigger." "A trigger for what?" "I don't know," he whispered. "But this isn't technology, at least not as we know it." The next morning, something changed. The vessel moved not far, just slightly inland, just enough that it could now be seen clearly from the shore. It was massive, shaped like a smooth shell, silver blue in color with no windows, no doors, no engines. It didn't float on the water, it hovered just above it. Absolutely still, absolutely silent. Crowds gathered along the coast to look. Soldiers arrived to push them back. Talia watched the live footage on a hacked feed. Her hands shook. This wasn't a ship. This wasn't a machine, whatever it was. It wasn't here to talk, it was here to wait. And something told her it would not wait long. Talia couldn't stop thinking about the strange object that had appeared in the sea. It was more than just a big, shiny thing floating on the water. It felt like a puzzle she couldn't solve. Every time she tried to forget it, the feeling of something being wrong grew stronger. That morning, back at the intelligence center, her boss handed her a new task. "There's a message," he said. It came through a secure line. "We need to see if it's important." Talia's heart jumped. Maybe this was her chance to find out more about the vessel. The message was strange. It wasn't written in any language she recognized. It was a mix of strange symbols, numbers, and sounds. She played the audio file. It was a low humming noise with a pattern that went up and down like a song, but it didn't sound like any song she had ever heard. It was haunting and beautiful, but also a little scary. She showed the message to the team around her, but no one understood it. They all shrugged and went back to their work. But Talia was curious. After hours, she took the file home on a small drive and contacted her old mentor, Dr. ElevenLabs. "Look at this," she said during their next call. "It's a message, but I don't think it's from any people." Elren stared at the screen for a long time, then whispered, "This isn't just a message. Talia, it's a pattern designed to do something that changes how we see time." Talia frowned. "How can a message change time?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "But from what I can tell, it's a kind of code that doesn't speak to the mind, but to the rhythm of reality itself. It's like tapping into something deeper than words or numbers." That idea scared her. It was like saying the world wasn't safe in ways no one understood. Talia stayed up all night trying to decode the pattern, running it through programs she built herself, looking for clues. The longer she studied it, the more she noticed strange effects around her. The clock in her room seemed to slow and speed up without warning. Sometimes her memories felt fuzzy, like they were mixing with things she hadn't lived yet. The next day, she tried to tell her coworkers about the strange message, but they were busy with reports about the vessel. The government was now talking openly about it. They said it was probably some kind of spy drone sent by an enemy nation. They ordered the military to surround the area, but in the background people were panicking. Ships refused to sail. Factories slowed down. The markets lost customers. People talked quietly in their homes, afraid to speak in public. In one small village near the coast, a family prepared to leave. The father, Merrick, had heard rumors about the vessel causing strange accidents. His wife and children packed their bags in silence. The old radio crackled with static, but sometimes faint voices could be heard. Voices that spoke in no language he recognized. Merrick looked out at the dark sea, where the vessel still hovered. It was too close now, too real. He wondered if running away would help. But even far from the coast, he felt the unease growing inside him. Back in the capital, General Karan was growing impatient. He had sent patrols to the area, but none returned. The Navy was on high alert, ready for any attack. The Emperor demanded answers. Karan met with his officers in a cold, dim room filled with maps and screens. "We have no idea what it is," he said. "No signals, no communication, no signs of life. But it's moving closer to the city." An officer spoke up. "Sir, we detected a strange energy field around it. It disrupts our radios and radar." "Disrupts how?" Karan asked. "Like a blackout. Our machines lose power for minutes at a time when near the vessel." Karan frowned. This wasn't just a spy drone. It was something else. He thought about the patrol boat that sank without a sound, about the strange voices on the radio, about the strange patterns in the intercepted message, and then he made a decision. "We will send a team, scientists, engineers, and soldiers. We will learn what this thing is." Talia heard about the mission and begged to join. She wanted to be there. She wanted to understand the message in the vessel. Her boss laughed. You're an analyst. You don't belong on the front line." But Talia didn't give up. She argued until they allowed her to come along as a technical specialist. She packed a small bag and boarded the ship that morning. The journey to the vessel was tense. The sea was unusually calm, almost too still. The crew whispered about strange feelings, sudden chills, and dreams that felt real. When they reached the vessel, it was closer than anyone had expected. Talia's breath caught when she saw it. It wasn't like a normal ship. It looked alive, like it had grown from the ocean itself. The surface shimmered like a pearl, changing colors with every wave of light. It was huge, bigger than any battleship, but graceful and smooth. No one knew where to start. No doors, no windows, no way to get inside. The scientists set up equipment to scan it. The machines beeped and whirred but couldn't penetrate the surface. Suddenly, the vessel emitted a low hum. The sound filled the air, vibrating through their bodies. Talia felt dizzy. Her mind raced with memories that weren't hers. She saw flashes of places she had never been. People she had never met. She heard a voice, not in words but in feelings. "Stop, listen." The crew was frozen. The humming grew louder. Then, without warning, the ship shifted slightly, gliding silently toward the shore. Everyone stared in shock. The vessel was moving on its own. Back on the mainland, the news spread quickly. Citizens watched live footage of the vessel slowly moving closer to the city. Fear grew in the streets. In one apartment, an old woman named Sierra held her granddaughter close. She told her stories about the past, about times when strange things happened and people had to be brave. "Remember," she said softly, "sometimes the unknown is not the enemy. It is a test." Talia listened to the stories through a hidden radio. She felt a strange comfort. Maybe Sierra was right. The vessel stopped at the edge of the city's bay. It hovered just above the water, silent and still. Military forces surrounded it, weapons ready, but no one dared fire. The vessel gave off a strange light that seemed to change the color of everything around it. The sky looked different. The water shimmered with new colors and the air felt heavy. Talia and the team watched from a safe distance. The strange message played again through her earpiece. She closed her eyes and listened. The rhythm matched the vessel's light pulses. Suddenly she understood. It was a warning, not a threat, a warning. The vessel wasn't there to destroy. It was there to change. That night, Talia stayed awake thinking about what she had learned. She knew the Empire would try to fight the vessel. They would send more ships, more soldiers. But she also knew that fighting might not work. This was something new. Something beyond war or politics. The vessel was a message from somewhere, or someone, beyond their world. She looked out at the dark window and whispered, "What do you want from us?" No answer came, only silence. The city was buzzing, but it wasn't the usual excitement of markets or festivals. People talked in hushed tones, looking nervously toward the bay where the strange vessel hovered. It was now a part of their daily lives, but no one truly understood it. Everyone had questions, but few had answers. Dannon was one of those few who refused to stay silent. He was a reporter, known for digging deep and asking the hard questions even when it made powerful people uncomfortable. He had always believed the Empire's version of the world was too neat, too controlled. Now, with the vessel there, hovering like a shadow over the city, he knew it was time to find the truth. One afternoon, Dannon stood outside the Grand Government building. Tall guards in shiny armor blocked the entrance, their faces unreadable behind helmets. Reporters from official channels were allowed inside, but Dannon was turned away. The officials said there was no new information, and that speculation was harmful to the people's morale. But Dannon had heard rumors from his contacts inside the government. Something was wrong. The Empire was hiding something big. He decided to sneak into the building that night. The city was quieter than usual. Lights flickered as if tired or afraid. The usual hum of cars and voices was replaced by an eerie silence. Dannon moved carefully through back alleys, avoiding patrols. Inside the government building, the halls were dim and empty. He found a room filled with screens, each showing different angles of the vessel. One screen had a live feed of a group of scientists and military officers talking quietly. He listened without being noticed. "The vessel's energy readings are unlike anything we've seen," one scientist said. "Our instruments can't explain how it stays afloat, or why it disrupts time and communications." "We need to find a way to disable it," another officer said. "If it moves closer, it could threaten the entire city." "But our weapons have no effect," a third voice answered. "It's like the vessel exists on a different level of reality." Dannon felt a chill. The Empire's leaders didn't have answers. They were scared. He snapped photos of the screens with his hidden camera. The next morning, Dannon published his report online. It was risky. The Empire controlled the media tightly, and unauthorized news could mean arrest or worse. But the public needed to know the truth. The report went viral. People shared it in secret groups, on encrypted chats, anywhere they could. It was the first real information anyone had gotten since the vessel appeared. The government responded quickly. They called Dannon a liar and a traitor. Soldiers came to his home, but he had already fled. He moved from safe house to safe house, still writing and sharing what he could. Meanwhile, strange things were happening around the vessel. Some people who got too close reported strange visions, flashbacks of their own pasts, memories that weren't quite their own, and glimpses of possible futures. It was like the vessel was reaching into their minds, touching their souls. A young soldier named Jara was one of those people. She was part of the unit guarding the area near the vessel. One evening, while on watch, she felt a wave of dizziness and collapsed. When she woke, she described seeing scenes from her childhood, then images of a world that didn't yet exist. Her commanders dismissed it as stress. But Jara knew it was more. She told her closest friend, "It's like the vessel is trying to tell us something. Like it wants us to remember." The Empire's scientists were desperate. They set up experiments to try to understand the vessel's strange powers. They used drones, scanners, and energy weapons. Nothing worked. One day, a drone sent close to the vessel vanished. The control room lost all contact for minutes. When the drone's signal returned, the images were scrambled, showing faces and places no one recognized. The team was shaken. Dr. Elrin Das, Talia's mentor, came to the capital secretly. He had been studying ancient texts about time and reality, hoping to find clues. He believed the vessel was not just a machine, but something that could change time itself. At a hidden meeting, he told Talia, "The vessel is not here to attack. It's here to correct." "To reset?" Talia looked at him confused. "Reset like a computer?" "Like the world is a story, and someone is rewriting the pages. We are part of that story, but the vessel is the editor." Talia shivered. The idea was terrifying. In the city, fear grew. People stopped going to work. Schools closed. Families gathered together, waiting for something they didn't understand. The Emperor appeared on the state broadcast, trying to calm everyone. He spoke of strength, unity, and hope. He promised the military was preparing a plan, but even his voice sounded uncertain. In the dark corners of the city, secret groups formed. They called themselves the Chrono Witnesses. These were people who had been touched by the vessel's visions. They shared stories of past and future, of mistakes made and lessons learned. They believed the vessel was a warning, a chance to change before it was too late. One night, Dannon met with Talia in a hidden cafe. They spoke quietly over cups of bitter tea. "We can't let the Empire lie anymore," Dannon said. "People deserve the truth," Talia nodded. "But what if the truth is too much? What if it breaks everything?" "We have to try," he replied. "The vessel is changing us whether we like it or not. We need to be ready." Outside, the vessel's glow lit up the sky like a silent guardian, or a ghost waiting for its moment. Neither of them knew what would happen next, but they knew the world was no longer the same, and whatever the vessel wanted, it was coming closer. The city was no longer the same. The strange vessel had changed everything. Every day, more people stayed home. Shops were empty. Streets were quiet except for the occasional patrol or whispered conversation. The glow from the vessel at the bay gave the city an eerie light, like twilight had come early and never left. Talia felt the weight of it all deep in her bones. She spent most of her time at the safe house talking to scientists, soldiers, and people who had seen strange things near the vessel. Each story added pieces to a puzzle she still couldn't fully understand. One afternoon, she got a call from Jara, the young soldier who had visions near the vessel. "Talia, you need to see this," Jara said, her voice shaky but urgent. "Something's happening." Talia grabbed her coat and rushed to the military base near the shore. When she arrived, she found Jara waiting with a small group of soldiers and scientists. They were gathered around a screen showing live images from the vessel. The shimmering light on the ship pulsed faster now, almost like a heartbeat. Then suddenly the vessel opened. It wasn't a door like on a normal ship. Instead, the surface seemed to part like liquid metal, folding back into itself, revealing a bright, glowing tunnel inside. Everyone fell silent. "This is impossible," said one scientist. "There was no opening before." Jara looked at Talia, eyes wide. "I think it wants us to come inside." The officers debated what to do. Some wanted to attack, others wanted to wait, but the vessel didn't give them a choice. A beam of light shot out from the tunnel, sweeping over the water and the shore. It was warm and gentle like sunlight, but filled with power. The soldiers felt it in their bones, an urge to move forward, to step into the unknown. Talia felt it too, slowly. The officers agreed to send a small team inside. Talia was not part of the group that went in, but she was allowed to follow behind, staying close enough to help if needed. The soldiers moved carefully into the glowing tunnel. Inside, the air was cool and filled with a soft hum. The walls shifted colors, showing images that looked like memories or dreams. Talia's heart pounded. Suddenly, one soldier gasped. Ahead, they saw figures, ghost-like, transparent, but real. People from different times, different places, children playing, families gathering, leaders speaking. It was as if the vessel was showing them the history of the world, or maybe many worlds. Talia's mind raced. Was this a warning, a lesson, or a call to remember? One of the figures stepped forward. It was a woman glowing with light. She looked directly at Talia, her eyes full of sadness and hope. "We are the keepers of time," the woman said without speaking words, but Talia understood perfectly. "Your world is broken. The path you walk will lead to destruction. Change is needed, or the cycle will repeat." Talia blinked. The figure faded, but the message stayed in her mind. Outside the vessel, the city was tense. News had spread about the tunnel. People wondered if the team would come back. Families gathered at windows, holding hands, hoping for a sign. Jara stayed close to the vessel, feeling both fear and hope. At night, she dreamed of the glowing woman and the future she had seen, a world that could be saved, if people chose to change. Days passed, but the team inside the vessel did not return. Talia grew worried. She asked for permission to go in herself, but the officers refused. "We don't know what's inside," they said. "It's too dangerous," but Talia was determined. She had to know what was happening. One night, she sneaked out and made her way to the vessel. The glowing tunnel was open. She stepped inside. Inside, the colors shifted and danced around her. She saw visions, her childhood, her family, moments she had forgotten. Then she heard a voice, soft but clear. "Welcome, Talia. We have been waiting. She turned to see the glowing woman. "You have a choice," the woman said. "You can help change the future, or return to the past and ignore what you have seen." Talia felt a tear roll down her cheek. She thought of her city, her people, the fear and hope she had seen. "I want to help," she whispered. "Then you must carry the message," the woman said. "Tell them the future is not fixed. It can be rewritten." Talia left the vessel feeling different. She returned to the city and gathered her friends, Jara, Danon, and even Dr. ElevenLabs together. They began sharing what Talia had learned. They spoke of the vessel, the glowing woman, and the warning to change. People listened. Some were afraid, but others felt hope. They started calling themselves the New Keepers. Their mission was to help the city prepare for what was coming. The Empire tried to stop them. Officials arrested some of the New Keepers. They called them troublemakers and spread lies to scare the people. But the message spread anyway. More people joined the New Keepers, sharing stories of visions and dreams. The city began to change. People helped each other more. They stopped fighting and started listening. One morning, the vessel's light grew brighter than ever. A sound filled the air, a soft song that seemed to come from everywhere. Talia stood at the shore with the others, feeling the music in her heart. The vessel began to rise, slowly lifting above the water. Then it paused, and a final message echoed in Talia's mind. "Change begins with you. The future is yours to write." The vessel disappeared into the sky, leaving behind a calm sea and a hopeful city. Talia looked around at the faces of the people near her. They were scared, but they were ready. The Empire might still be strong, but something new had begun. A story of hope, a story of change, a story that no one would forget. After the vessel vanished into the sky, the city slowly began to change. The fear that had gripped everyone started to fade, replaced by a cautious hope. People were still unsure about what had happened, but many felt something inside them shift, as if a new chapter had just begun. Talia stood on the shore, watching the calm sea where the vessel had once floated. The water sparkled under the morning sun, but it was the quiet in the air that caught her attention. The noise of panic was gone. Instead, she heard laughter from children playing nearby and neighbors talking together on street corners. She remembered the glowing woman's words, "The future is yours to write." Those words kept echoing in her mind. At the safe house, the group called the New Keepers gathered to plan their next steps. Jara, Danon, and Dr. ElevenLabs were there, along with new faces. People from all walks of life who had been touched by the vessel's message. "We can't just wait for change to happen," Jara said firmly. "We have to make it happen ourselves," Talia nodded. "The Empire will try to hold on. They want things to stay the same, but we know they can't." Danon looked serious. "We need to reach more people. Share the message. Help them see that their actions matter." Dr. ElevenLabs added, "This isn't just about one city or one empire. It's about how we live and how we treat each other. The vessel showed us that time is fragile. What we do now will shape the future." They all agreed to spread the message quietly but firmly. They used secret meetings, messages passed by word of mouth, and hidden writings on walls. The New Keepers became a movement, growing stronger each day. In the heart of the city, life began to shift in small but powerful ways. In one neighborhood, neighbors started sharing food and resources. People who had once ignored each other now helped carry groceries, fixed broken fences, and watched over children together. Merrick, the father who had once planned to run away from the coast, found new strength in his community. He joined the New Keepers and helped organize a group to clean up the streets and plant gardens. It was a simple act, but it made people feel connected. In another part of the city, a school reopened with a new purpose. Teachers and students gathered not just to learn from books, but to share stories about kindness, courage, and change. The city's markets began to fill with laughter again. Sellers spoke openly about their dreams for a better future, and buyers listened with hope. Even the emperor's control started to weaken. Officials who once ruled with fear now found themselves listening to the people. The old way of doing things was breaking apart. But the road wasn't easy. The empire fought back. They arrested some New Keepers, spreading rumors to make others afraid. Soldiers patrolled the streets, reminding everyone that power still belonged to the rulers. One night, the safe house was raided. Talia barely escaped. running through dark alleys with only a few close friends by her side. They hid in a small cave outside the city, catching their breath and planning what to do next. "We can't give up," Talia said, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "This is just the beginning." Jara looked out into the night sky. The vessel disappeared, but its message didn't. "We carry it inside us." Dannon nodded. "The Empire can try to silence us, but they can't stop the change in people's hearts." They stayed in the cave for days, sending secret messages and planning. Meanwhile, strange things were happening beyond the city. Villages far from the coast reported strange lights in the sky and whispers carried by the wind. People in those places began to talk about the vessel, even though no one had seen it there. Some said it was a warning. Others believed it was a call to action. A farmer named Lyra watched the stars every night, feeling the pull of something greater. She joined a small group who believed the world was connected, that the vessel's message was for everyone. They started traveling from village to village, sharing stories and helping people prepare for a new way of life. Back in the city, Talia and the new keepers knew they had to do more. They decided to send a message directly to the Emperor, not with threats or demands, but with a simple truth: change is coming. "Join us or be left behind," they wrote a letter, honest and respectful, telling the Emperor what they had learned and what they hoped for. Talia led a small group to deliver the letter in person. The journey to the palace was tense. Soldiers watched them closely, and the city felt heavier with fear. When they reached the gates, the guards hesitated, then allowed them inside. They met the Emperor in a grand room, where he sat on a throne that seemed too large for his tired face. Talia spoke clearly. "Your Majesty, the vessel has shown us a future where people live in fear and division, but it has also shown us hope, a future where we can change. We ask you to listen, to lead with courage." The Emperor looked at her, then at the faces around her. For a long moment he said nothing. Then slowly, he nodded. That moment marked a new beginning. The Emperor agreed to meet with the new keepers regularly. Together they worked on plans to rebuild trust and bring peace. Old laws were changed. People who had been punished for speaking out were released. The city began to heal. Talia, Jara Dannon and Dr. ElevenLabs continued their work, reminding everyone that the future was still being written. They knew the vessel might return someday, but they also knew that people now held the power to shape their own destiny. As the sun set over the calm sea, Talia stood once more at the shore. The water was still and peaceful. She smiled softly, thinking of all the people who had found hope and strength. The vessel's light had faded, but its message lived on. In every act of kindness, every brave word, every heart ready to change. And that was the true power, the power to write a new story. Time passed, and the city slowly began to heal from the fear and confusion that the mysterious vessel had brought. People started to believe again, believe in each other, and believe that change was possible. The story of the vessel became part of their lives, a story they told to their children, not as a tale of fear, but as a lesson of hope and courage. Talia often thought about that glowing woman inside the vessel, the keeper of time who had given her the choice to fight for a better future or stay locked in the past. That moment had changed her life forever. It made her understand that every person carries the power to change the world, even when everything feels impossible. The city had changed, but the work was far from over. Even though the Emperor had promised to listen and work with the people, old habits died hard. Some officials resisted the new way, trying to hold on to their power, but the people were stronger now. The new keepers were everywhere, reminding everyone that the future was theirs to build. Jara became a leader among the soldiers who once feared the vessel. She trained others to protect the city not with fear and weapons, but with courage and kindness. She taught them that true strength came from understanding, not violence. Dannon kept writing, sharing stories from the city and beyond. His words spread hope and inspired people to keep believing in change. He was careful but bold, knowing that truth was a powerful tool against fear. Dr. ElevenLabs returned to his studies with new purpose. He searched ancient texts for wisdom, but he also looked to the people, their stories, their hopes, their dreams. He believed that the future wasn't just about science or power. It was about people and how they chose to live. One day, Talia received a message from Lyra, the farmer who had started traveling between villages. Lyra wrote about how the vessel's story had reached even the smallest places, how people were coming together in ways no one had expected. Talia smiled as she read. The message was simple. The change has begun everywhere. She shared it with the new keepers, and they felt a deep sense of connection. The city was not alone. The vessel had touched many hearts far beyond the coast, but change brought new challenges. As the old empire weakened, new groups rose up. Some wanted to help, but others saw an opportunity for power. Talia knew that the future was still fragile. One night, she sat with Yara and Dannon, talking quietly about what lay ahead. We've come far, Yara said, but there are still dangers. People who want to use fear to control. Dannon nodded. We have to stay united. The story we tell must be one of hope, not hate. Talia looked out the window at the stars. The vessel showed us that the future can be rewritten. But it didn't say it would be easy. We have to be brave every day. The people listened. Slowly they chose kindness over anger, unity over division. Schools taught children not just history but empathy and courage. Markets became places of sharing where strangers became friends. The emperor, too, began to change. He stepped down from his throne, asking the people to choose new leaders who would serve, not rule. It was a peaceful transition, one many never thought possible. Years later, Talia stood on a hill overlooking the city. Children played in the streets below. Families laughed together. Gardens bloomed where once there had been only dust. She felt the sun warm her face and the breeze carry the scent of flowers. The city was alive, and it was free. In her heart, Talia knew the vessel might return someday, but she was no longer afraid. The true power was not in a strange machine or a glowing light. It was in people, their courage to face the unknown, their kindness in hard times, and their belief in a better tomorrow. As the sun set, Talia whispered to herself, "The future is ours. We write it every day," and with that she walked back down the hill, ready for whatever came next.